Tonight's big stories. The Senate stands united against the ongoing push for a people's initiative. All 24 senators signed a manifesto rejecting this method of charter change, which they say could result in a no-election scenario at the very worst.
Vice President Sara Duterte announces plans to run in the next elections. But for what position? Well, that part remains unclear, so we'll try to get some clarifications from Duterte ally and former presidential spokesperson Harri Roque.
And Kingdom of Jesus Christ leader Pastor Apollo Quiboloy snubs today's Senate hearing on the alleged illegal practices in his religious group.
This is The Big Story. I'm Sean Yao.
And I'm Angela Lagunzad Castro.
I'm Maricel Halili.
Alright, Tuesday na Tuesday. I know one day pa lang tayo this week, pero balik na sa usaping ChaCha,
Agad.
ang big
Yes.
story natin. Ang daming big stories kasi today.
Exactly.
Pero unahin natin to. Now, while groundwork for a so-called People's Initiative begins, the Senate has made a bold move to reject these efforts.
All 24 senators signed a manifesto outrightly opposing the ongoing signature drive happening on the ground. They also fear a possible no-election scenario if the proposed charter amendments are left unchecked.
Now we have Mayan Los Baños for more details. Mayan, what exactly happened today in the Senate?
Yes, ladies, senators are opposing the ongoing People's Initiative campaign through a manifestation which Senate President Mig Zubiri read at the plenary today.
Today, the Senate once again stands as a bastion of democracy as it rejects this brazen attempt to violate the Constitution, the country, and our people. This Senate of the people will not allow itself to be silenced. If this PI prospers, further changes to the Constitution can be done with or without the Senate's approval, or worse, even absent all the senators.
All 24 senators signed this manifesto against the People's Initiative, which they say would undermine the Senate altogether in amending the Constitution. This has been a major point of contention since signature campaigns in different localities started. As we have reported, the petition forms being handed around proposes for a joint voting between the two chambers of Congress, which would effectively disempower the Senate in terms of voting in changing the charter.
This singular and seemingly innocuous change in the Constitution will open the floodgates to a wave of amendments and revisions that will erode the nation as we know it. To allow joint voting will destroy the delicate balance between which our hard-won democracy rests.
Senators also expressed fears about the possibility of land ownership and political provisions being touched once the ongoing People's Initiative gains ground.
We cannot protect our lands from foreign ownership. We cannot stop the removal of term limits nor no election scenario in 2025 or worse, in 2028.
Ladies, if you recall, Congress leaders held a meeting with no less than President Bongbong Marcos putting Senate in charge of ChaCha. This was welcomed by House Speaker Martin Romualdez just yesterday. And now we have this solid position coming from the upper chamber, rejecting the People's Initiative happening on the ground. So we'll have to see how developments will pan out after this. Back to you.
Thank you. That was News 5's Mayan Los Baños.
All right, let's get more clarity on what happened today. Joining us tonight to talk about the Senate's collective stand against the People's Initiative, we have on the phone Senator J.V. Ejercito, Deputy Majority Leader. Senator, thank you so much for taking our call tonight. Can you hear us okay? Hi, Sen.
Yes, hello, good evening.
All right, Sen, can you tell us what led to this united front of the Senate in a manifesto today? Nakapag-usap na po ba ang mataas at mababang kapulungan or the leaderships at least about charter change? So is the People's Initiative really off the table and are we going to focus on a CONAS?
Yes, Sean, Maricel, Angela, good evening again. As mentioned, there was a meeting last week during the Bande Honor, before the Bande Honor. presided by no less than President Bongbong Marcos. It was between Senate President Bing Subiri and Speaker Martin Romualdez to avert a potential constitutional crisis because both houses were not in agreement as to the method regarding charter change, specifically with the People's Initiative that the Senate is not in favor. To avert this crisis, PBBM called the two leaders of both houses in Malacanang, and what was agreed upon, we must admit that there was quite a heated debate at first, but what was agreed upon was that the Senate will pass a bill on constitutional amendments on economic provisions only. Now, because that's the position of the majority of the senators, we do not want anything to do or touch on the political provisions because we do not want to be part of an amendment that would benefit us as well. So that was agreed upon. So the Senate would pass the bill, and then the House would subsequently adopt this particular measure. No? But after that meeting, what led to this manifesto by the Senate, by all members of the Senate this afternoon, was that the People's Initiative continued on, no? Right after the meeting. So Senate President Bigso, through the Senate President, the majority of this, most of the senators, rather signed this manifesto rejecting the People's Initiative, no? Because according to them, that this is not really a People's Initiative, but there's already the method is questionable because they make people sign every time there's a distribution of assistance like AIX and TUPAD, no? So that's the position of the Senate right now, that we are open for economic provisions, but because of these continuous efforts on whoever the proponent is, the People's Initiative, we have already come up with this manifesto.
Okay. Quick follow-up lang naman. Is the Senate doing something a little bit more proactive in order to stymie the signature campaign that, as you said, no, Sen, it's still ongoing. As we know also from the past week, iniimbestigahan nyo na yan sa Senado. Meron na bang nag-prosper on that end? Of course, we don't know who's the proponent is and sino nagpapaandar nitong signature campaign. But is there a plan, no, to try to just stymie this?
Yes, that's we have already met 2 days in a row. We all members caucus on what specific directions, strategies to take, and the Senate President has already tapped a legal team, a very powerful legal team that would advise the Senate on the steps that we will be undertaking in the coming days or coming weeks, no? Because we would like to reiterate that, me personally, I was really expecting that if only the what was agreed upon during the meeting was honored, then probably we wouldn't have this conflict or problem right now, no? So from what I know, that the Senate President has already tapped a very powerful, was already formed a powerful legal team, and also all the lawyers of the Senate, senators are also part of it. So we will be discussing on which directions, or probably take several steps, no, so that we can prevent a constitutional crisis.
So can you elaborate on that, Senator? Kasi you mentioned nga earlier na magkakasunod yung caucus. I understand last night nagkaroon din kayo ng meeting. And since ang Senate ang magiging lead dito sa charter change, paano yung magiging separation ng tasks?
Well, actually, that is where there is a disagreement, no, between both houses, because as you know, the People's Initiative that is going around now, yung method of how we will be voting, it's voting together or voting as one. So it's not voting separately. We are bicameral in nature, and that's the dynamics of our democratic institution. So that is the worry of the senators, because we are only 24 against more than 300 members of the House. So that if ever the Senate would insist that we have to vote separately.
Yeah. Senator, going back nga doon sa signature campaign na nangyayari, how much of a threat does the Senate see this initiative? Or kayo po ba ay confident sa Senate na this won't prosper?
Well, if this were really a people's initiative, meaning there's no strings attached, then we will be confident, because based on surveys, Sean, Maricel, and Angela, more than 86% of the Filipino people are not in favor of charter change. But if you ask for the signatures to get at the same time that you are distributing the assistance that the government gives, like the AIX, TUPAD, it's but natural for people, especially the poor people, they will sign, no, just to get their assistance. So yun yung namin, yun yung hindi kami pabor na nagagamit po ang AIX sa TUPAD for this people's initiative.
Alright, puntahan naman natin yung actual things that want to be changed. Of course, we've talked about the economic provisions, I think sections 12, 14, and 16. Now, there is a lot of criticism na hindi na daw bago itong mga economic amendments proposed by Senate President Mig Zubiri. Of course, there's also that argument na hindi naman natin kailangan mag-charter change para baguhin ang mga ito. Ano po ba are we planning to stick to this, kayong mga senators? Or are there things that will be tweaked? Can we, as the public, expect na may magbabago pa doon sa mga items or articles or provisions na babaguhin?
As I mentioned, Sean, I think a lot of the senators are open-minded. Like I myself, for example, I am in favor of economic amendments to the economic provisions, because our constitution was written in 1987. It's almost 40 years, and the world has evolved. The world has changed a lot since that time. There's no such thing as globalization, World Wide Web. The world has become smaller, and I do agree that we have to adapt to the situation, so that the country, the Philippines, can be competitive and attractive once again. You have to make certain amendments in the Constitution to make us more competitive. And I am in favor of that. But I just am not sold that the idea of touching the political provisions, because that would mean that, it's self-serving. We will be talking of term limits, lifting of term limits, the tenure, no? So that's where the majority of senators stand, no? A lot are open for economic provisions, but really we do not want to touch on the political provisions.
So just to make it clear, Sen, for now, there are no other changes that are on the table, no new amendments outside of yung nabanggit na ngang economic changes.
Well, as of now, we as what the Senate President has mentioned, though, there are certain things that we're just like the Public Services Act, no, wherein it encourages foreign direct investments by allowing them to have 100% ownership on certain utilities and firms. But except there are things that that concerns national security, also ownership of land. That are not really acceptable. No? Probably we will favor long-term leases, no, 50, 70 years, so that it will be just like Vietnam, so that we will be attractive for more FDIs or foreign direct investments. Probably in terms of utilities, we would want, especially with the utilities that have, as I mentioned, concerning national security, like for example, the National Grid Corporation, we might have certain amendments, so that we want to make sure that it will be owned and operated by Filipino entities, because as I mentioned, it concerns national security. So things like those.
Sir, what do you want those people who signed or are planning to sign the People's Initiative to understand bago sila lumagda now that this is happening?
Well, I hope that they will be well informed and educated about the document that they're signing, which is the People's Initiative. And there are we have received information that some people think it's just for assistance, it's for other things, no? And most of the time, they are not really informed about what they are signing, no? About they're not briefed about the People's Initiative. So, yun lang, it's kasi parang we are using government resources, they're using again assistance, the program for assistance to make people sign. So, it's not anymore what you call a honest to goodness or genuine People's Initiative.
Okay, last question, Sen, no? Linawin lang natin, bago tayo mag-goodbye. Bihira kasi na mag-stand together all 24 senators on a single issue. So, the fact that you are standing together, it sends a very strong message. Who is the recipient of that message? Is it the whole, buong sambayan ng Pilipino? Is it your, is it Congress? Is it other branches?
Pati si Senator Robin napapirma, di ba? Nung una, hindi daw.
Yes, actually, si Sen. Robin, we all know for and we respect because it has been his advocacy, yung charter change, no? And even People's Initiative, but he stood up earlier explaining that he is not in favor of how both houses voting as one because it's even in the Constitution that, this is the beauty of the bicameral system. We really have the checks and we need the checks and balances to be in place. That's why he said that he is not in favor of this kind of People's Initiative that proposes that both houses will be convening jointly and voting jointly. So doon po siya hindi pabor. Kaya nga siya po ay sumama na. He was the last person to sign the manifesto. And what is the beauty of this, that we cross party lines, walang majority, walang minority. All 24 senators were present earlier and signed the manifesto.
All right, well, thank you so much, Senator, for making time for us tonight to explain all this and letting us pick your brain. Senate Deputy Majority Leader J.V. Ejercito, thank you.
Thank you.
Speaking about this issue, President Bongbong Marcos himself brushed aside allegations of bribery in exchange for signatures for the People's Initiative. This as the two leaders of Congress who joined him at an event today exchanged subtle digs on the push for charter change. Justin Punsalang has the story.
President Bongbong Marcos led the celebration of the 125th anniversary of the establishment of the First Republic of the Philippines in Malolos, Bulacan. Alongside the president were House Speaker Martin Romualdez and Senate President Mig Zubiri, along with other officials. In his speech, the president stated that the struggle initiated by our ancestors for freedom, especially against foreign dominance, persists to this day. He also vowed to continue to uphold the legacy of the Malolos Republic.
Because while the great cause of freedom endures, it still faces threats, some shocking, some subtle, but all met with the same resolve. To those who trample our sacred shores, the spirit of Malolos commands us to resist you.
As for House Speaker Romualdez, he stated that the Malolos Republic has proven that the power of a nation originates from the people. Romualdez also proudly highlighted the true democracy in the Philippines.
Ang bawat isa ay may kalayaan sa pagpapahayag. Kahit may ilan ng maaaring hindi sumangayon dito, naniniwala ako na ang pagpapanatili ng mga prinsipyong demokratiko ay sapat at dahilan upang tayo ay magdiwang.
Zubiri meanwhile emphasized that charter change should not be done hastily.
Kaya anumang pagbabago sa ating saligang batas ay dapat dumaan sa malalim na pag-aaral at konsiderasyon. At hindi dapat mag-ugat ng makasariling mga motibo. Kalayaan nating lahat ang nakataya dito.
After the event in Bulacan, Marcos proceeded to the launching of the Lung Center of the Philippines and the National Kidney and Transplant Institute's lung transplant program. There, the president mentioned that he had conversations with some lawmakers regarding the signature issue. Marcos denied allegations of cash payments, expressing confidence as well that the COMELEC will not accept forged signatures.
Pagka yung binayaran yung signature, hindi tatanggapin ng COMELEC yun. Walang mangyayari doon. Pagka alam ko, hindi naman wala namang ganun. Ang sinasabi, hindi bayaran ng cash, kundi nangangako ng kung ano-anong benefits.
The president also insisted that the government should not halt providing benefits just to prevent it from being used in a signature campaign. He believes it is better to leave the focus on people's initiative to the COMELEC.
We will just have to let COMELEC do their job, do their work, and to validate the signatures. And if there's a suspicion that may ganun nga, hindi mabibilang yung mga signature na yun.
For News 5, Justine Punsalang, we are One News.
Pero medyo grabe na rin pala, no? No wonder na alarma na yung Senate and they put out a manifesto and their united front. Kasi nasa 884 cities and municipalities na pala kumakalat ito.
Yes.
Ganong kadami.
Ang dami nun.
Pero remember ha, syempre kailangan natin at least 12% of the total number of registered voters para maging mabilang to and at least 3% per legislative district.
Pero hindi malayo na makamit nila yon, no? If yung supposedly di umanong mga aktibidades ay nagyayari, like yun nga, kung di mo ibibigay yung mga cash aid tulad ng tupad at IKES from the agencies. Tapos kung desperado ka, pipirma ka talaga.
Yeah.
Lalo pa yun nga sinasabi nga natin, yung mga tao na pumirma, ang alam talaga nila is for ayuda.
Yes.
Diba? Yun yung pinaka... I remember kasi unang pumutok to when Congressman Ed Salagman said sa Albay, it's been going on. Tapos sabi niya when I interviewed him, sabi niya, check nyo rin yung QC, baka meron na. And then eventually, it's happening na nga.
Kanina kausap namin si President Bongbong Marcos and he mentioned na naisip din nila na dapat bang ipatigil yung pagbibigay ng ayuda. But then eventually, syempre, naisip nila hindi pwede.
Hindi pwede.
Yeah.
Kasi sa dami nung umaasa doon. So they cannot do that.
Pero yun nga, ang pinaka-importante here also is, teka muna, okay, so nare-receive ngayon ng COMELEC yung signatures na yan from People's Initiative. Pero ang sabi nga nila, wala pang laman that signature because there's no petition.
Right, tama ka dyan,
Na
Ange. Actually, ang sabi ng COMELEC, no, na only the Supreme Court can prevent it from receiving signature pages linked to the People's Initiative for ChaCha.
Yes.
So only the... Pero also, they also said, no, or specifically, no, si COMELEC spokesperson, Attorney Rex Laudianco, sabi niya sa mga reporter kanina, they are implementing their rules on the People's Initiative, which is part of the COMELEC mandate.
Ninilaw nila yan na they're just abiding by the guidelines ng COMELEC. Kasi syempre yung mga tao sinasabi natin, di ba, na inaiintriga tayo. But nire-receive nyo kaagad yung signatures without the petition itself. Yung pala, it's more of like ministerial lang yung...
Yes, they really have to. Because they're the COMELEC, diba?
Yes.
So unless
Trabaho nila yun.
tigilan ng Supreme Court, yun ang sinasabi ni Attorney Rex, they have to just keep receiving the signatures.
Pero hindi pa daw pwede mag-TRO ngayon. Kasi wala pa siya sa jurisdiction ng COMELEC.
Correct.
Wala pang
And
petition.
I know we had Attorney Rex, no, on the big story, like I think last week, or last week pa nga ang sabi niya, no, somebody has to file muna.
Yes, exactly.
Kung, ngayon, nauuna yung signature doon sa filing. So kumbaga, walang umaako kung kanino ba tong mga at sino bang nagpapasign. But kailangan may first mover na pupunta doon at sinasabi, okay, mag-file kami ng People's Initiative. And that's the time na magsa-start, kumbaga.
Yung verification ng signatures, etc. Kasi for now, talaga, wala pang laman yung signature na yun. Kumbaga, anong tawag doon, di ba?
Sine-check pa
wala
lang nila.
Check
Yung
lang
to.
nila, okay,
Receiving
lang the file na merong mga signatures na gumawa.
So kumbaga, nakaimbak pa lang yung mga papel for now. Alright, so tingnan natin, no? Mukhang hindi pa naman ito matatapos in next week or next week. Pero pahinga muna tayo. Let's take a quick break. Right after that, Kingdom of Jesus Christ founder, Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, has been subpoenaed by a Senate committee after failing to attend the inquiry into the supposed abuses in his church. The details when we return. Keep it here on The Big Story.
You're still watching the big story here on One News.
The Senate panel issued a subpoena against Kingdom of Jesus Christ leader Pastor Apollo Quiboloy in relation to allegations of abuse within his church. Quiboloy is being summoned by the Senate Committee on Women as he failed to show up at today's probe into the supposed sexual abuses in his church. Quiboloy's lawyer was present in today's hearing, but Senator Risa Ontiveros, who leads the probe, refused to allow him to speak and insisted that the pastor himself face the committee. At least 2 invitations had been sent out by the Senate to Quiboloy, but instead of attending the hearing, the pastor only sent out a letter addressed to Senate President Miguel Zubiri.
Kayo, pastor, ang dapat humarap sa susunod na pagdinig because you are being subpoenaed by this committee. Hindi po kayo anak ng Diyos na exempt sa otoridad ng Estado. Kawalan ng galang sa buong institusyon ng Senado ang inyong pagtangging humarap.
Okay, so ako napanood ninyo yung probe, no? Mga 2 plus hours siya. Tapos sobrang nakaka-dishearten yung mga testimony ng mga supposed former members.
Victims.
Parang tama ba? Yung isa daw dun sa mga na-interview, she was called Amanda, alias Amanda, 16 years old, na isang full-time worker sa KOJC, yung samahan nga ni na Pastor Apollo Quiboloy. And then they worked for the church in exchange for a promise of some benefits like libreng pag-aaral, and allowance, kumpleto.
Ang ending nung kaya no, alias Amanda, no? Siyempre napakinggan ko talaga kasi talagang it's so gripping. Ang ending is, tumawag siya sa mama niya. Kasi from dito sa Novaliches, parang branch, pinadala siya sa Davao, kung saan parang naging ano nga siya, close-in pastoral siya, or yung inner circle ni Pastor Quiboloy. Tapos, yun na nga, nagsimula na yung mga abuses. I think we have a soundbite. But in any case, after a while, tumawag siya sa mom niya kasi kasama din yung sister niya, yung younger sister niya. Apparently, hinostage yung transcript of records nila. So, hirap din siya makapag-find ng work after.
Tsaka during the hearing, talaga marinig mo yung nginig ng boses niya. While detailing.
Yung emotion.
Oo, diba? While detailing what happened.
Yes,
during that time,
panoorin
panoorin natin.
Parte daw ng trabaho ng Ministry of the Pastorals na imasahe si Quiboloy. Sabi niya, special privilege daw ito dahil hindi naman daw lahat nahawakan at nakakalapit sa anak ng Diyos. Binigyan ako ng isang t-shirt na may botones at pajama pants. Isang bote ng shampoo na Palmolive Violet at lotion na pabango na Bath and Body Works brand. Ang specific scent ay Enchanted, na paborito daw ni Quiboloy. Sinimulan niyang tanggalin ang pajama at pants at underwear ko. Tinanggal din niya ang pajama pants at brief niya na nanginginig na ang katawan ko sa takot. At nakatitig lang ako sa kisame. Pinipigilan ko na lang ang mga luha ko dahil sobra akong nagulat at walang magawa. Pinagsamantalahan ako ni Pastor Quiboloy, pinaniwala nila ako na hindi dapat questionin ang pagsasamantala niya dahil mali na questionin ng ama.
So yun nga, so after no, naikwento nga niya na tumawag na siya sa mama niya. In fairness sa mama niya, lumipad talaga ng Davao. At because minor pa daw yung younger sister niya, somehow nakuha naman ng mom yung younger sister. Ngayon, after that, tinanong nga siya ni Senator Risa kung so, paano yung naka-affect no, sa life mo ngayon na hindi mo makuha yung transcript of records mo? Di ako clear kung nakapagtapos silang dalawa or what. Pero definitely, hina-hostage din yung kanyang transcript.
Grabe, no? Pero meron ding palang ni-reveal si Senator Ontiveros earlier today na isang video ni Pastor Quiboloy noong 2018 wherein galit na galit siya dun sa mga kumukontra, kumakalaban sa kanila. Panoorin natin to.
Gera ang gusto nyo, gera tayo. Hindi nyo gusto ng kabutihan, nag-take advantage kayo, mga pobre kayo, mga prostitute kayo.
Ikaw ba yung pinatutungkulan dito sa video na ito, Miss Amanda? Tinawag kayong pobre, prostitute. Ganito ba yung kanilang pananalita sa mga tumitiwalag sa kanya?
Mas lalo na po sa mga pastoral. Pending pa po yung cyber libel na kinaso po nila sa akin.
So, yan. So, aside from Amanda, meron pang dalawang Ukrainian na former member din itong Kingdom of Jesus Christ na sinasabing ginahasa rin sila, inabuso, dito nga ni Quiboloy.
Ito, narinig ko yung testimonya nung isa sa kanila. Grabe, sobrang, doon ako na-hook eh. Yun yung una kong napakinggan. Grabe rin yung ginawa. So, pastoral din siya. Tapos, hindi nagkakalayo yung sinasabi niya, doon sa sinabi ni alias Amanda. So, medyo magkakapareho talaga yung mga sinasabi.
Experience nila.
Oo, yung basahe, yung mas hindi lang detalyado, like wala yung parang yung Palmolive shampoo, Bath and Body Works lotion, na napaka-detailed. So, I think next
May
hearing,
brands na preference.
meron talaga. Tapos, meron pang ate-atihan daw sila, si Jacqueline Roy, na pinapatawag nga ni Senator Risa next hearing because parang siya yung kumbaga, ano bang tawag? Parang ate-ate nila doon. Ang nagtuturo nung way, siya yung nag-check nung amoy nung pajama.
So, siya yung trainer.
Parang ganon ang lumalabas. So, pero hindi lang mga babae, ha? May mga male members din na nag-testify. So, sinasabi nga, pinagsosolicit sila ng money while pretending to be, alam niyo yun, minsan pag kumakain tayo sa mall, may lumalapit, nagbebenta ng mga utap. Oo, ganon. Tapos
yung mga makapuno candy.
Yun, mga ganun daw. So, may mga ganun din naman sa mga boys. Tapos kung hindi okay, siguro yung benta or what, inuumpog sila, inahampas daw yung mga ulo nila sa pader.
Hanggang dumugo.
Parang sindikato rin, ano?
Oo, yan yung mga sinabi sa hearing. And I think we will uncover, diba, more stories as the hearing goes by.
Oo, meron pa
Sana
namang
humarap
mga...
talaga si Pastor
Yun
Kim.
nga.
Hopefully, kasi invited siya today pero hindi siya nagpakita. No
Nagalit
show.
din si Senator Risa Hontiveros Sabi niya kasi.
But let's see.
he
Hopefully,
shows up.
next hearing, magpakita na siya. Meanwhile, the Quiboloy-led Sunshine Media Network, or SMNI, is now on indefinite suspension. That's after failing to comply with an initial suspension order from the National Telecommunications Commission. The cease and desist order demands that SMNI explain why it was unable to comply with the 30-day suspension order issued last December. The network is facing an administrative case for supposedly violating the terms and conditions of its franchise. This includes the alleged use of the station and its facilities to spread disinformation, which was the subject of a House inquiry last year.
Up next, Vice President Sara Duterte announces her bid to run in the next elections. Don't go away.
You're watching the big story here on One News. So eto na nga, ladies. No? President Bongbong Marcos has made it clear the Philippine government will not cooperate with the International Criminal Court regarding its probe into the war on drugs. Let's hear that from the president himself.
Let me say this for the 100th time. I do not recognize the jurisdiction of ICC in the Philippines.
Marcos issued this statement following the recent revelation of former Senator Antonio Trillanes that the days of former President Rodrigo Duterte as a free man are numbered. He said that ICC investigators have conducted their fact-finding on the war on drugs. Ito nga rin yung pinag-usapan natin kagabi, where Senator Bato de la Rosa also challenged the palace to clarify this revelation. So now, President insists they have no plans to cooperate with the ICC, which they also consider a threat to the country's sovereignty.
I consider it as a threat to our sovereignty. Therefore, the Philippine government will not lift a finger to help any investigation that the ICC conducts. In fact, binabantayan namin sila, making sure that hindi sila that they do not come into contact with any agency of government. And if they are contacting agencies of government, na sasabihin yung whatever, policeman, local government, sabihin wag niyong sasagutin.
Okay, but wait, there's more. The DOJ, the Justice Department, also clarified that they have not received any information that ICC members have started investigating the alleged human rights violations during the administration of former President Duterte. The DOJ maintains that the ICC investigation is baseless because the country has a, quote, robust and functional justice system capable of addressing international issues without external interference. The agency added that the Philippine government has shown that it is ready, willing, and able to investigate and prosecute any crime committed within its territory.
Meanwhile, Vice President Sara Duterte denied any association with the alleged Davao Death Squad during her tenure as Vice Mayor and Mayor of Davao City. VP Sara also expressed her commitment to face accusations only in a Filipino court, emphasizing the importance of prioritizing the Philippines and avoiding foreign interference in the country's justice system. Yan.
Wait lang, masaya. So, may clarity ba kanina? Alam ko ikaw yung for the 100th time. Kasama ka dun eh. Sinabihan ni PBBM mo.
Diba? Well, ni-reiterate niya na hindi na babago yung position nila. Although, ang sinabi niya, kung pupunta dito sa Pilipinas, yung mga representatives from the International Criminal Court, as ordinary people, pwede. Pero pag may investigation, ibang usapan.
So, meaning turista lang?
Oo, turista.
Okay.
Ito pero feeling ko kasi sagot niya yan dun sa sinabi ni Senator Bato de la Rosa. Be man enough to tell us, diba? Anyway, so Vice President Sara Duterte declares that she will run in the next elections. No? She made this announcement during an event in Davao City on Monday. Duterte did not specify which position she'll be vying for, but if she did mean to run in the next elections, that will be either for the local elections or the senatorial race in 2025. If she runs then, she will be cutting short her term as Vice President, which is supposed to end in 2028. Here's the part of that speech in Davao where she announced her intention to run.
Kanuog ko, ako ang isuod, si Mayor Baste, o ako ang maguwa, si Congressman Pulo, so di sila magagal. Basin, di sila magagal sa sunod na eleksyon. So muna na ako din sa inyo ha, kay nangampanya ko sa inyo ha, kay magagal ko sa sunod na eleksyon.
Okay, let's seek some clarification on those statements from Duterte ally and former presidential spokesperson Harri Roque, who joins us now over the phone. Attorney Roque, good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. Obviously, I'm sure
good evening.
Yes, Attorney, I'm sure hindi lang kami yung nagtatanong at nagtataka ngayon. Ano po yung basa nyo dyan sa mga sinabi ni VP Sara today?
Well, unang-una, I am no person's spokesperson for now, no? So I have no authority to speak on behalf of Vice President. Pero ako naman, let us not put words into the mouth of the Vice President. Ang sabi niya, siya'y tatakbo sa eleksyon, no? Ang konteksto po nito is two of her brothers said they don't want to run for election anymore. So if the two brothers don't want to run for election, she will. But which election? Well, we all know she's already the second highest official of the land. And her term ends in 2028. So I'm sure when she said sa susunod na election, that refers to the end of her term in 2028. And although she did not specify kung anong tatakbuhan niya, ang tingin ko, yung eleksyon na tinutukoy niya ay 2028 at po pwedeng tumakbo ng presidente. Hindi siya po pwedeng tumakbo ng vice president kasi bawal ang re-election. Po pwede siya tumakbo ng senador, pwede siya tumakbo ng kongresista, pwede siya tumakbo ng mayor, vice mayor, or councilor.
If that's the case, Attorney Roque, bakit po kaya nagsalita si VP Sara tungkol dito sa election? Kasi I understand it was a speech. It's not an interview. So bakit po kaya na-open ni Vice Presidente itong usaping ito, sir?
As I said, ang konteksto niyan is because the brothers declare that they are no longer running for elections. So if the two brothers, Te and Pulong, are no longer running for election, she made it very clear that she will still run for an election. But she did not say to run in 2025. No? That's a conclusion that some people have made. Pero kung tatanungin, the next election that she's referring to, obviously, is when she no longer has a mandate to serve, and that is in 2028.
Okay, so kumbaga, attorney, medyo we jump to conclusions too fast at medyo may pagka-assuming tayo, no? O overreading into VP Sara's statements. Ganun po ba?
Opo, kasi wala naman siya sinabing 2025 eh. It's everyone's conclusion na she was referring to 2025 kasi sabi niya, tatakbo ko sa eleksyon. Pero, siyempre, in her mind, bakit siya tatakbo? Ang alam ko talaga, hindi siya tatakbo sa 2025. Kaya nga siya nagtataka, bakit napakaaga ng hatchet job sa kanya? Bakit napaaga ng paninira sa kanya? Eh, hindi naman siya kandidato sa 2025 dahil ang kanyang termino ay until 2028.
Okay, pero technically, no, attorney, technically, pwede ba siyang mag-resign na lang muna? Kung gugustuhin niya, let's say.
That is not pursuant to human experience. Bakit siya magre-resign sa pangalawang mataas na posisyon para tumakbo sa mas mababang posisyon? That's not born out of human experience.
Ayun. We would also like to know, Attorney Roque, kung bakit po kaya suddenly, tulad ng nabanggit kanina ni Mase, na this speech came from an event, no? It wasn't an interview na nag-announce siya na siya ay tatakbo nga sa next election. When she said 2 months ago na wala po naman siyang plano na tumakbo. Ano po kaya sa tiningin niyo yung nagbago doon?
Again, yung text niyan, kasi yung dalawang kapatid niyang lalaki, nagsabi na hindi na gustong tumakbo sa eleksyon. So
Okay.
sa tatlo pagkakapatid na Duterte, siya lang ang tatakbo sa susunod na eleksyon.
Okay. Attorney, ganito, no? Iba na lang pag-usapan natin. Balik na lang tayong ICC ulit. Since ayaw natin maging masyadong assuming and to read too much into the statements of Inday Sara. Pero kasi kahapon, no, syempre pumutok na naman itong issue dito sa ICC probe. Of course, by now, I'm sure nabasa nyo na kasi napanood ko po yung interview ninyo sa politico.ph. So kahapon nga, no, si former Senator Trillanes said na concluded na daw itong probe at warrants could be issued as early as next quarter. Tapos sabi naman ngayon ni PBBM na the Philippines will not cooperate with the ICC for the 100th time. So ano po ba yung nagyayari? What do you think is really happening?
Nahehelo na po ako talaga. Hindi ko na alam kung anong paniniwalaan ko. Kasi 7 months ago, I was physically present with PBBM when he publicly announced that we will no longer cooperate with the ICC. Pero 7 months later, he was to say, yung return natin sa ICC is under study, which is different from what he said 7 months ago. And just 2 or 3 days ago, his Secretary of Justice confirmed that we will now cooperate with the ICC. At the same time, tinanong si Secretary Remulla, bakit ano nangyari, bakit nagbago? Kasi daw merong House resolution. in joining us to cooperate, which is the exact same situation that happened to SMNI. Nagpas ang House ng resolution to revoke the franchise of SMNI. Wala namang bisa yun kasi walang counterpart resolution sa Senado, pero sinunod din ng executive branch. So sa totoo lang, nahehelo na ako. Una-una, I'd like to believe there's only one president, PBBM. But look what happened recently. BBM said, itigil yung firma na yan. It is unconscionable, ang word na ginamit niya, yung pagbibigay ng bribery, and there is no way he will allow the Senate to be abolished because he was once a senator. But look what happened. After he called a meeting with the speaker in attendance, tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang pag-gather ng signatures, sinasubmit pa nga sa COMELEC na yun. So mukhang no one is in charge because the speaker apparently is countermanding what the president has said, defying what the president has said. So hindi ko na ngayon alam kung sino paniniwalaan. Kasi sabi ni Presidente, itigil ang firma, itinuloy ni Speaker. Sabi ni Presidente, we will not cooperate with the ICC, pero ang huling binitawang salita ng Secretary of Justice, we will cooperate because of the House resolution. I think, as a unsolicited advice, calling Malacanang, please get your act together, nahehelo na kami.
Okay, sir. Given na paiba-iba po yung mga statement na nanggagaling sa Malacanang, sa mga cabinet secretary, base po dun sa mga nakukuha ninyong information, kasi dati rin naman po kayong nasa government as cabinet secretary, I assume meron pa rin naman po kayong mga kilala dyan na pwedeng makagather ng mga information. Totoo po ba yung sinasabi ni Senator Antonio Trillanes na dumating daw yung mga kinatawan ng ICC noong December?
I have no reason to doubt Trillanes because he is one of the complainants. So he should know.
Okay, so meaning possible, attorney, na may mga, kumbaga, sa diplomatic world, kung may back channeling, so possible din na may mga pailalim na mga galaw na, of course, complete...
Hindi back channeling ang tawag dyan. On the sly. Dapat na ginawa nila was to coordinate formally with the DFA, and in turn, DFA will refer them to DOJ. Hindi ko lang alam kung nangyari talaga yun. Kasi nagsalita talaga ang Secretary of Justice na we will now cooperate.
Okay, sir, were you able to talk to former President Duterte? Ano pong sabi niya? Baka meron siyang mga sinasabi tungkol po dito.
I'm with him right now.
So, kamusta po si PRRD, sir?
Hello po, sir.
I'm with him right now, no? And what he said was, let them do what they want, and I will let the people decide what they want to do. If they will have me arrested, I am here. I will not hide. And I will not tell the people what they should or should not do.
Okay, we will, I think, leave it there with the former president's wise words. Thank you po so much for joining us tonight.
Unless, sir, baka gustong
Wag yun
magsalita
nga eh.
ni PRRD.
Saglit.
Sa totoo lang po, kanina magkasama kami, naghiwalay kami kasi biglang nalaman ng tao na nandito kami, tinumog, no? So, nagsupwera na naman ako, kaya umalis ako, no? Bilang pinagsamantala ako na, habang kaguluhan siya, kumain ako ng konti at nakipag-interview. Mabuti
Nandito
naman
kayo,
na
sir, sa
ako'y
Manila?
nakakain. Wala po, we are in the province.
Sir, last question na lang. Ano po yung, is that a friendly visit or you guys talking shop, talking business? Work?
We're talking shop.
You're talking shop. Okay. Okay, we're gonna leave it there. Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Davao tonight, former presidential spokesperson, Attorney Harri Roque.
Sayang, umalis si
Oo
PRRD.
nga eh. Kala ko pwede niyang
Hindi,
ganun.
you're talking shop daw. You're
Oo
talking
nga eh.
shop.
So, aabangan natin yan.
But before we go, our big picture tonight is an interesting package delivery. What you're seeing now are personnel of the BRP Sierra Madre taking hold of the airdrop supplies from the AFP over the weekend. The military opted to drop supplies through this method after a resupply mission to Ayungin Shoal was called off due to technical problems with one of the supply boats. The AFP usually resorts to paradrop missions in cases of emergencies and instances where immediate deployment is required. The recently airdrop supplies are expected to last troops in Ayungin for 1 to 2 weeks. And that's the show tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks so much for watching The Big Story. Thank you and good night.